Maine's Senate race appears to be taking shape after Democratic nominee Graham Plattner's exit. Troy Jackson has cleared a path toward winning the Democratic nomination and facing off against Republican Senator Susan Collins this November. The progressive candidate appeared with Plattner on the campaign trail and previously won his endorsement for a failed gubernatorial campaign. And over in Michigan, Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are shoring up support for a different progressive Senate hopeful. They held rallies with Democrat Abdul El-Sayed over the weekend. Here's some of what they said yesterday.
When we send Abdul to the Senate and take back the House majority, we're not going to go back to the status quo that got us here.
When Abdul is elected to the Senate, he will work with me and other progressives in taking on the greed of the billionaire class.
All right, let's bring in Alex Vogel and Joel Payne now. Alex formerly served as the chief counsel for then Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist. He's now the CEO of the Vogel Group. Joel is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. A warm Monday morning welcome to you both, gentlemen. Joel, I want to start with you. We've spoken about the Democratic candidate El-Sayed a moment ago. He had a bit of a testy exchange on CNN after New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani was brought up. Let's just quickly listen to that.
Every time I come on CNN, you guys ask me the same questions about these theoretical rights of existence or whether or not I agree with the mayor of New York. I'm running for Senate in Michigan. And in Michigan, people can't afford their basic needs. They don't get the health care they need and deserve. They're worried about the quality of their kids' school. And the question seems less to be about the interests of Michiganders than the fact of something happening 6,000 miles away.
So, Joel, what do you make of that? Why not embrace viewpoints on the left of the left? Is there a division there?
I make of it that we're about 3 weeks away from a critical primary and that everybody sees the goal line in their sights. And look, Abdul El-Sayed's been running hard. He has faced some challenges in recent weeks because it's very clear that establishment Democrats have decided to get behind Haley Stevens and really focus their attacks on him from the center of the party. And I think that he's looking for every opportunity he can to push back on this narrative that he's unelectable or that he's a risk for Democrats to take by getting behind in the state. I think having Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stand with him in Michigan this weekend was an opportunity to do that. The big thing I'm watching for in this race, Errol, is what do black voters do in places like Detroit, in places like Pontiac, Michigan, and some of those areas with large black populations. That will tell what happens in this primary. And that's where Haley Stevens has an advantage if you look at public polling right now. El-Sayed's got to make up some ground there, or at least hold his own there to be able to win in this primary. And I think that what he's trying to do is take the focus away from being a proxy war on foreign policy and talk about issues that matter to Michiganders.
Now, Alex, Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney also fielded some questions about Mamdani on Fox News over the weekend. Here's what she had to say.
Any thoughts on what Mamdani said about Benjamin Netanyahu? He wants to arrest him when he comes for the UN General Assembly.
Yeah, this is absurd. This is more Netanyahu posturing for the far left and the communists. He has no power to do that. Netanyahu's protected. He's been a great partner with the United States. Yeah. Oh, Mamdani.
So, Alex, what do you make of that? Is dismissing Mamdani and what the Republicans describe as far-left candidates a winning strategy for Republicans?
Look, it is clear that far-left progressives have a lot of energy right now in the Democratic primary base. What's not clear is how that's going to translate to a general election. Republicans have lived this to some degree with our own Tea Party experience in the past, where cycle after cycle, you'd get a ton of energy in the primary, and those very candidates, because of that energy and because of some of those positions, weren't able to get over the finish line. And I think that's what the Democrats are having to face down right now and on the left.
And Joel, on the topic of risks for Democrats, I want to show you what El-Sayed's rival, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, said on News Nation yesterday.
Republicans are propping up Abdul because they think it's going to make it easier for Mike Rogers to win this seat, to flip it Republican. I don't plan on making anything easier for Republicans or Mike Rogers.
Joel, what do you make of that?
I make that she's trying to deflect the fact that AIPAC is funding her 10-to-1 over Abdul El-Sayed. The thing that comes up to me as I think about this, Errol, is if you look at where Abdul El-Sayed is on some of the issues, he is with the mainstream of not just the Democratic Party, but the public on health care. He's with the mainstream on balancing out the relationship between the United States and Israel. He's with the mainstream on fighting corruption in politics. So really the question I think a lot of establishment folks have to ask themselves is, what is the electability argument you're making against Abdul El-Sayed? I know that Republicans think that they can run against him, frankly, because they can do some scaremongering among voters. And I think that that's what Haley Stevens is playing into here. I don't think that that's a good, sustainable strategy. I think if she wants to make a case, she should talk about the things that she's going to fight for. She should talk about her, helping fight back for the bailout in Michigan to help Michigan voters. She should talk about past support from Barack Obama. If she talks about those issues, she'll be good. If she starts to scaremonger and help Republicans scaremonger, I don't think that's a good place for her to be in.
And Alex, I'll give you the final word in our chat today.
Look, anytime you're dealing with an insurgency, and that's what the Democrats are having to navigate here, in this case from the extreme far left, the very popularity of some of those candidates, whether it's Mamdani or the AOCs of the world, or now bringing Bernie back into the conversation, the more they remind Americans that that may work in New York, maybe San Francisco. That's a really tough message to have to try and defend all across the country when the goal should be for them to try and get to 218.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here in the months ahead. Alex Vogel and Joel Payne, thanks for being with us this Monday.